Hey everyone, welcome back to the Media Moogle Network. It's Old Gamer Joe with another Media Moogle review for you today. It's been a slow end to the month of May here, but things are going to be heating up going into June. We kick it off with Warborn, which will be launching June 12th on the PlayStation 4, Nintendo Switch, PC, which is where we played it, on Steam, and the Xbox One. So some of this information might be familiar to those of you who watched our preview of Warborn, which came out a few weeks back, and we also did an interview with developer Josh Reagan, who worked on the game, so just to be transparent about that, we are relatively friendly with the folks that worked on this game. It won't influence our opinion on the game or anything like that, but did want to be upfront with you. Warborn is a turn-based, grid-based strategy game which comes from Rare Drop Games and was published by P-Cube Limited. The politically charged story of Warborn takes place in the Horus system during a great time of war. In the single-player campaign, players will be challenged by over 40 missions and take control of 4 different commanders at given times throughout those missions. If you're going to survive the different challenges of Warborn, you will need to rely on variable armor units, which have a variety of different types. Some of your robots are built strictly for healing and for stat boosting of other characters that do more damage. You'll also be in control of more long-range based armors, including snipers, which can strike from a distance and hide in bushes in order to avoid taking damage. And yes, all of these different combinations of characters are great and all, but the real fun of Warborn comes in using your deity character, which looks straight out of Gundam, is extremely powerful, and an absolute blast to use. Regardless of which armor combination you're using in Warborn, they all feel important for different reasons, and having so many different types of robots allows for players to approach their battles in a variety of different ways. Sometimes I would hide behind walls or in forests, depending on the map, of which there are many in Warborn, baiting enemies in towards me so that I could strategically circle around them and take them out that way. Or other times I would say, screw it everyone, we're gonna go bum rush our enemy with our deity character at the front of the line. I'm not gonna lie to you and say that second approach was always successful, but it was definitely always fun. Taking out your enemies isn't always the only objective in Warborn, however. You'll also be able to take over different territories. And the more territories that you take over in Warborn, the more SP that you will collect on a given turn, which will allow you to summon more armors into battle. Sometimes, depending on a level's objective, you'll have to only take over bases. In those situations, I found that Warborn became more of a defensive game than an offensive one, with players perhaps opting instead to work the outer edges of a map so that they can avoid conflicts. However you play Warborn, though, is entirely up to you, and you will find success eventually, even if you do lose a battle more than once. You also have a CP gauge in Warborn, which slowly fills up as you progress through battles. If you're playing the game online, a full CP gauge will allow you to summon your deity character, or if you're playing the game's campaign and your deity character is already on the battlefield, then you can use a full CP gauge to make that character more powerful and do more damage. I think fans of Advance Wars will feel pretty comfortable overall with Warborn's mechanics and systems that are implemented, but even if strategy games aren't typically your thing, or if you haven't played any in the last few years, Warborn is easy enough to pick up and play for almost anyone without too many deep tutorials to worry about. I would say on the whole, Warborn is easy enough for newcomers or novice strategy fans to enjoy and play, but it's also fun enough for longtime strategy fans to enjoy as well. Do understand though that you're not getting the deepest or most intricate strategy elements that you've ever seen before. I was a big fan of Warborn's art style. I think it looks sleek and simple, but very effective. Definitely has that 90s anime vibe to it. When I spoke to Mr. Reagan about the game's graphical style, he did mention that the art was a little bit influenced by Capcom and SNK fighting games, and you can sort of see that in some of the different characters and enemy types that you'll come across. Obviously, if you're not a fan of giant robots in the style of 90s anime, then Warborn's look is not going to do much for you. Fortunately for me, I like giant robots and I like anime, so it was a match made in heaven. Warborn is also boosted by a really great soundtrack, which is also sort of out of the 90s anime era, I would say, with some nice guitar leads. Some really groovy bass lines also help bring these high energy tracks to life. I could have done with a few more musical compositions in the game, but on the whole, I never got tired of listening to them, despite the fact that some of these battles can rage on for 15 minutes plus. Overall, anime fans will definitely appreciate both the look and sound of Warborn. Even after you've completed the campaign in Warborn, which will take you about a good 20 hours at least depending on your skill level, you'll have plenty of other things to mess around with, including a map editor, which is there for folks that like that kind of thing. I've never been much for creating my own maps myself, but it's there for folks that do like that sort of content. And also there's an online mode which allows for great customization options and different ways of play that will keep you busy for a long time. Warborn is a really fun, simplistic strategy game with a wonderful soundtrack and a nice art aesthetic that will satisfy both hardcore and casual strategy fans. If you love strategy games and you really like anime and giant robots, then Warborn becomes a pretty easy recommendation. We hope that you have enjoyed Media Moogle's content today. Please do consider hitting the subscribe button below so that you can help us in our fight to bring a voice to the voiceless in gaming. If you really like us, head on over to patreon.com/MediaMoogle, where we have 3 great tiers of content to choose from. You are also more than welcome to join us on Discord, Reddit, or leave a one-time donation in the link below. However you end up supporting Media Moogle, thank you so much for doing so. Onward! Our work has only just begun.